right, welcome back for another CBSI Hot 10 show. Make sure you go over to comicbookinvest.com and check out the article where I may put a few extra little bit of notes and tidbits that I don't cover here on the show tonight. Also, check out all the content we have over there, as well as all the content we have on the channel right here. Make sure that you like, you subscribe, you hit the alert button so you don't miss anything. Keep telling your friends so we can keep growing the channel. And for those of you out there who have not tried Whatnot yet, use my link down below and get yourselves a free $15 to spend on whatever you want with whomever you want. No strings attached. You get to try out the platform. You get to get yourself something nice, and you help the channel. So you really got nothing to lose. And for those of you out there who may be shopping for your supplies, you know, your bags, your boards, your short boxes, long boxes, top loaders, whatever you need to, you know, keep your collectibles safe, BCW usually has a product for you. And if you're going to be making an order, you might as well save some money while you do it. So use my code RENNA10 to save yourself 10% off your entire order. So it's money you got to spend anyway, and nobody likes to do it, but you might as well save money while you do. So with that all said, if you just want to see the list, don't worry. I have it for you, and I'll be up with it right after the short little intro.
Notable sales.
All right, our first notable sale is a book that was actually on the bottom of the list last week, and that is Weird War Tales number 93, Creature Commandos. It dropped just yesterday on HBO Max, and this week we had a CGC 9.8 of this bad boy sell for an all-time high. How much of a high, you might ask? Well, how about $2,500? That's right, $2,500 for a 9.8 of this classic from 1980. I don't know. I still have to watch the cartoon. I still got to watch the animated show. I know it just dropped yesterday, but I haven't had time. I'm going to probably try to watch it tonight when I got some spare time. So I'm hoping it's good. I hear good things. I just can't wait to check it out. That said, $2,500 is a lot to pay for a comic, and it's not even a one-for-one team representation. So it's just a crazy high sale. And that wasn't the only all-time high sale that I noticed this week, because I saw another one. And this one is a personal favorite of mine because, as you guys might know, I am a big fan of David Nakayama. I am also a big fan of Star Wars. So I was able to procure a damaged copy, I should say, of this book for a decent price, because this thing is impossible to find. This is the Dr. Aphra #1, the Neff box exclusive. This is that weird... You had to like subscribe to this clothing company to get this comic book. So it was like an impossible thing that not many people knew about. So there are not that many of these things out there. But the Neff box exclusive, it usually comes up and it sells for a lot of money. And that was also the case when this 9.8 sold. I think there's only a couple of 9.8s in the entire census, and one of them sold this week for an all-time high of $1,400. Now, if you go on eBay and look at the list, you know, the sale listings, it'll say $2,000, but a best offer was accepted of $1,400, which is still an impressive amount. So don't let that fool you just because it was a bit of a discount. $1,400 is still a lot of money for one of these things. So good on them for the seller and for the buyer as well, because like I said, this is not an easy one to find. With that said, those were our notables for the week. So if you want to see the actual list, don't worry, we'll get right into it right now.
Number 10.
All right, first up, this one was on the outside looking in last week and found its way onto the bottom of the list this week. Again, following the release of Creature Commandos, because I told you Circe was the bad guy in this animated series, or at least one of them. And yeah, so now people are going back and picking up her first appearance in comics. I know we're going to make the arguments of cameos that came in a couple issues before, but by and large, most people like this issue because she's on the cover here. And I'm not talking about this. Circe in and of herself is actually a mythological character. So she has had appearances in comics prior to this, but the version that we're kind of dealing with in the show is more related to this version from the 80s. So you know what I'm saying? So we're not going back to the golden age just to go bring up a character, which would be a true first. We're going to 19 because this is the one that most people seem to gravitate towards. Right or wrong, I'm not here to argue semantics over first appearances, over cameos versus not cameos, fulls, all that stuff. That's not what I'm reporting. I'm reporting what's selling. And this thing, while not a lot of volume, it's still got a dozen sales, whereas the prior month, the entire month before this, the entire month of November, there were only 3 sales. So having over a dozen just this week is a decent jump considering no one was buying any of these all month last month. So high of $17 also isn't that much, but this book has had its day in the sun. It's just kind of bouncing back a little bit now. But again, it's mostly due to the volume that has this thing kind of creeping up. You could still probably find this out there in cheap boxes if you go and dig for it, because it is a character that we will probably see more of. So I would keep an eye on this thing, because James Gunn has already said those playing characters in the animated series will probably play them in live action as well. So just something to look forward to that we probably haven't seen the end of Circe yet. Now, with that said, that was our first book. Let's see what I got for you next.
Number 9.
So at number 9, we go back to classic nostalgia, which I know, I'm a big fan of. G.I. Joe, Transformers, all that stuff. I love it. Thundercats included. And Thundercats is coming in here at number 9. Why? Well, my best guess is Dynamite is doing like a backer kit. So it's not quite a Kickstarter, but the backer kit for a collected edition of this original Star Comics run. And that thing is already like funded 4 times what they were seeking to get this thing done. And they still got a whole month plus left. I think there's 31 days left on that thing. So I think with the renewed interest in seeing these classic editions, well, people are going back saying, well, why don't I just go grab the originals? You remember, there was a time when this Thundercats number 1 was like $100 raw. Yeah, $100 raw at one time or another. Last week, copies were as cheap as $10. $10 copies sold for last week. Now, yeah, I mean, there's over a dozen sales, which again isn't a ton of volume, but I've been saying it for weeks. The market is pretty slow overall. So I'm just looking for things that kind of stand out from the pack. And this book stands out because, again, even with that few amount of sales, it is an increase over what we've seen the last week or two. Prices are starting to creep up a little. I did see a $50 sale mixed in there with the raws, but CGC 9.8 sold for $460 and $465 this week. And then there was also a newsstand 9.8 that actually hit almost $980. Now you're thinking $980, that's probably an all-time high. It actually isn't. Way back in like the 2021 time frame, there was one that hit over $2,000. So like I said, this thing was super hot a while back, cooled off quite a bit, and now it's just seeing some renewed interest this past week. Again, I'm thinking it's because of the Dynamite backer thing where they're going to look to reprint this original run, but who knows? Maybe there's some more secret news coming out there that I missed. That said, that was our number 9 book, so let's keep this thing rolling and check out what we've got in next.
Number 8.
Oh boy, it's like the 90s again. Here we got Doomsday showing up on the list. That's right, Doomsday. For those of you fans of the Lois and Clark TV show that just wrapped up, so that was it. There was Doomsday. We've also got Doomsday showing up in the comics, and I'm telling you, you'll see a couple of these on the list. It's like the 90s again. Fun stuff. I decided to pick the DC Universe version of this book, and you'll see why in a second, because this book started to sell this week. Granted, it's still not that expensive. First prints thereabouts are around $15. We saw a couple dozen sales. There are multiple printings on this book, 5 to be precise. So first print, second print, third print, fourth print. You'll see the printings very clearly marked in the little corner box there. This one I'm showing you in the picture is the 5th printing. It is the DC Universe variant, and one of these actually sold for $130 raw this week, which is why I wanted to put this cover up, because that was a bit of an outlier. Keep an eye out for it, because again, some of these later printings, especially the DC Universe variant, Universe variants is a whole separate collecting, subculture. I mean, I'll let Bruce tell you all about that, but still, book that started to stand out, moving in volume this week, where it really wasn't doing that much last week. And like I said, it's the 90s again. So you want to see why it's the 90s again? Just hang on, because we still got lucky number 7 next.
Number 7.
Hey, we're talking Doomsday. Why not talk about Nightfall, right? So we need Bane breaking Batman's back. Now, why is this one moving? Well, last week I said keep an eye on the OLI of Batman 492, the start of Nightfall. No one seemed to be picking that one up, the start of the series, even though there are still rumors that we're going to be getting some animated movies adapting the Nightfall trilogy. Whether that means they're going to do a trilogy just based off of Nightfall, or if they're going to do Night's End and Night's Quest in there as well, That's not very clear. But instead of Batman 492, many people seem to be picking up 497 because when I started looking, this thing was selling quite a bit more than it had been in prior weeks. Now, this is the issue where Batman's back gets broken. Again, classic from the 90s that had a lot of people searching for it. There is a newsstand variant that people do like to pick up and pay a little bit of a premium for. Not a huge premium, but a little one. So keep that in mind as well when we look at some of these prices. But I'm only talking about the directs here. 30 plus sales this past week. Raw is hitting a high of 20 bucks. You don't think that that's much, but this is 90s fodder where that was filling cheap boxes. Like this thing is a couple of bucks and it has been a couple of bucks forever. So it hitting high of 20 bucks this week is kind of notable and kind of stands out. Also 9.8s are hitting 100 bucks, which again, last week, I think they're only like $60 to $65. So that was a decent jump for 9/8 as well on this book, just based off of this news that we may be getting Nightfall. So I'm looking forward to it. If they make a Nightfall animated series of movies, I'm probably watching them all because I remember this stuff. And yes, it was not perfect. I'm not the huge John Paul Valley fan, but Azrael still was kind of a cool design. Didn't like it so much when it became Batman, but it was part of the story, right? It's part of the story, and we had to get his comeuppance at the end, and then we got It's a great classic run of Batman. I'm not going to go through the whole thing here for you, but let's just keep this thing rolling and see what we got for you next at number 6.
Number 6.
Yeah, we're still in the 90s. We're not leaving it. Now we have Spawn. Yeah, Spawn number 5. Why are we talking about Spawn number 5? Well, apparently next month we are getting a new series. I think it's like No Way Home or something like that. McFarlane in the Spawn corner in the universe, he is going back to the well for a character who hasn't shown up in like 30 years and giving this little girl a series. So here we go. Spawn number 5. I forget the little creepy girl's name. She kind of has like a Violator's face paint on her. But she first showed up in this issue of Spawn, issue 5. And now, many decades later, we are going to get a series that's going to kind of spotlight her out of the McFarlane, Spawn universe of comics. 20 plus sales this week following this news and these updates, hitting highs of 14 bucks, which again is not that impressive, but this is another book that just filled dollar bins forever. Newsstands will command a premium, so if you can find Spawn newsstands, always grab them because there are collectors for them, and they will pay extra for that barcode. So look out for the newsstands too. As you can see here, a newsstand 9.8 did hit 130 bucks, which isn't a huge number, but when you compare it to the direct new 9.8s, it is a decent premium for that barcode. So look out for it. Now, hopefully, I think that's all we got for the 90s as we keep this list rolling, but we'll see. Might have still some more surprises. Might see some more familiar books as we get to the top half of the list.
Number 5.
Yeah, I said familiar books because some of these bad boys are coming back because this is what the market's doing. You can yell, you could scream and kick all you want that you may not like these books personally, but that's not stopping other folks from buying them. And this is what's selling on that marketplace out there. And right now, Venom War number 5 is still moving in volumes. Yes, I understand. You can still grab a cover price, copy out there from here, there, everywhere. But at the same time, there are plenty of copies selling for premiums of like $15 to $20. It's a weird thing going on, but it's happening. And it's not just like, whoa, there's one sale for $15. Go and look. There are dozens of sales for $15 to $20 out there. Meanwhile, there are dozens of sales for cover price or less. It is what it is. But people are buying this Venom War number 5 because not only is it the first appearance of the gold Venom suit, it is also the first appearance, I guess, of, again, I don't know how to say it, Energarak. It's Carnage backwards because you see the Carnage symbiote kind of teasing that it's going to be joining up with Eddie Brock. So that's what happens at the end of this book. People are looking forward to this Energarak or however you say it, Carnage backwards. That's what it's called. That's the symbiote we're looking forward to. Yes, I know it's silly, but people buy a lot of silly things and it's still comics and it's still a story that it's got to have you curious of like, what's going on here? I mean, we don't even know who the new Venom is, but more on that later. For now, another 100 plus sales. Like I said, yeah, half of them are cover price. The other half of them are at premiums. I don't get it either, but it's selling, and that's what's moving, and that's why it's on the list at number 5. And with that, we're going to keep our list rolling and see what we have at number 4.
Number 4.
Well, we got a classic. And yes, we will be getting the Craven movie very, very soon. I still don't know what to make of this movie. I wasn't asking for it. At the same time, I am very, very curious at this point. I don't know. It's almost like you can't look away. You got a rubberneck. You can't look away from a car crash. That's kind of what I feel like this Craven movie is going to be. And I just kind of have to see it. But that said, the original Amazing Spider-Man 15, this is a classic book, an expensive book. So we're not going to so much talk about specific average prices because there are so many different grades out there. Look, you got low grades, you got medium grades, the high grades. Pricing is all over the place depending on the grade. But I will tell you that there wasn't a significant increase in sales this week, as there were about a dozen, where I think last week we barely had any. Only 4 last week. So 4 to go over a dozen, that's a decent bit of volume for a classic book like this. And many of those sales were graded, but the high sale for this week was actually a raw that grabbed over $1,200. So a nice looking high grade raw, $1,200. Meanwhile, mid-grade, some of those mid-grade CGCs last week, I think I saw one sell for $740, and then this week $875 for the same grade. So that's also a decent increase in those kind of mid-grade level books as well as far as price goes. So a little bump in volume, a little bump in price. People starting to get more and more interested as Craven is getting ready to drop very, very soon. I think it's next weekend. I think it's next weekend. This weekend, it's like the 13th or something like that. Next weekend. So we got a week. Yeah. 13th would be next Friday. So we got a week. We'll see if more Craven books start to move between now and then, but it was a decent jump this past week for this particular classic issue of Amazing Spider-Man at number 15. And with that said, we still have 3 more books left for you before we get to the end of this thing. So let's see what we got for the top 3.
Number 3.
I don't know what else to say about this book. It's here again. It's Absolute Batman. And again, complain all you want that you keep seeing the same books, but people keep buying the book and the price keeps going up. Even if it's slowly, it's still ticking up. So I can't ignore it. It's what's one of the few things that's actually moving at a decent clip on the market. So Absolute Batman 1, the cover A, once again on the list, creeping up, despite the fact that the price is only creeping up a little bit. I think last week we were averaging 30. Now we're looking at the average being around 35. But with another 100 plus sales, plenty hitting that $30, $35, $40 kind of mark, with highs hitting $50 raw. I don't know. I mean, if it keeps selling, we got to keep talking about it. I can't ignore it. It's still going up. Copies are still moving. Absolute Batman. It's probably going to carry through the holidays at this rate, but it is what it is. I don't really have much more to add because I've talked about this book I don't know how many times now. So there it is at number 3. And with that, we still got our top 2 left.
Number 2.
Bouncing back onto the list after dipping off last week, we have all new Venom number 39. This is that foreshadow variant, which teased this gold Venom look and the new Venom for all new Venom number 1. This was the foreshadow variant that kind of teased it. Now, it was on the list a couple of weeks ago because it was selling pretty well. And then last week, the volumes dropped significantly. I mean, we went from like, I think, what was it, like 60 sales like a week or a couple weeks ago? And then last week there was only like a dozen. So volumes dropped. So I couldn't put it on the list again. Meanwhile, all new Venom number 1 came out this week and people went back. And this week they went back and were picking this book up in volume as 70 plus sales, averages about $16 on this thing, highs hitting $25. It is what it is. On the list, dropped off the list, back on the list again. It's like people forgot for a week to go and pick up this book, I guess. Again, it's a tease of the all-new Venom, who we still don't know who it's going to be. I mean, everybody's got their theories. I even put a poll up on the channel to see what you guys think. And so far, Luke Cage is winning in people's opinions, but we don't know. We don't know who the new Venom is just yet, but it seems people are interested in that mystery, and they're interested in going back and grabbing this kind of tease cover appearance on Venom number 39. So keep an eye on that one too. And with that, we've got one book left. So let's see what I got for you now.
And our number one.
It's here again. I don't know what to tell you. It's going up again. Prices are going up. Yes, Mark Spears Monsters #1, specifically the cover E, the Bridezilla cover, or the Bride cover. I'm sorry, Bride cover. That not Bridezilla. You know, remember that stupid show? The Bride cover, as it is sometimes referred to as well. Yeah, it's gone up again. Last week we had an average in like 150 with highs hitting 197, I believe. Now the average is $200. And there were close to a dozen sales this week, and most of them were right around that $200 mark. And then we did also have a couple of CGC 9.8 sales at $350. And while that 9.8 sale is actually less than it was last week, we had multiple sell. And again, the overall average price is up. And even the volume is more than it was last week. Still not tons of volume, but there are not a ton of these available. But when they sell, they're selling for big numbers. It is what it is. It's a beast on the market. I don't know what to tell you. I dig it. I don't have one of these. I do not have one of these. Mark Spears is a friend of the channel, but I don't have one of these. I have no stake in this game. This is what's selling. Not only is this one selling, cover A is still selling really well at $100 raw, thereabouts. I saw a $110 sale, I think, at auction as well. There was a 9.8 that I think hit like $280, $290 on the cover A as well. These things are still selling. All the covers are doing well, from the Hulk homage to the Bloody Dracula drips to the Infinity Gauntlet one as well. They're all like $40-$50 these days, no matter what cover you find for that issue 1 first print. And we are getting the 3rd print coming soon, as well as a 2nd print for number 2. And then I think come January, we will get issue 3. But with that said, it ain't slowing down. And I don't know what to tell you. It still tops on my list. So with that said, make sure you guys stick around and don't go anywhere, because the Qualified Boys are coming up next. Today, they will be covering their best of 2024, covering some of the top Kickstarters. Kickstarters are an interesting thing. I mean, that's where Mark Spears Monsters started, and some of those Kickstarter books are very expensive. That's also the case for a lot of other series out there as well. Some of my favorite artists actually do a lot of Kickstarter covers, and you got to keep an eye out for them, like Flops. Big fan of Flops, and you'll occasionally have a couple of covers that are Kickstarter onlys, and you got to be aware of them, or just hope that Joe's Dueling will give you a heads up, because Joe will always give me a heads up, thankfully, on some of the stuff he knows that I like. But the boys are going to cover that next, so make sure you guys don't go anywhere, and make sure you come back next week for another list. And like I said, stick around not only for that show, but all the stuff we have coming your way here on the channel, from Saturday Night Special on Saturday to the Star Wars show on Sunday. I'll give you the Wednesday watch list every Monday, and then again, we keep this thing rolling with Tack on Wednesday, Hot 10s, Dollar Bin Diggings, all that fun stuff, only here on Rennavision. And with that all said, I'll see you all later with some more content. All right.